are the benefits of drone attacks, and what is the damage done in increased hatred against the U.S., anti-Americanism? According to the Pakistan government, the figures they released of 60 drone attacks, only 14 Al-Qaeda were killed, 700 civilians died, not to mention the numbers injured. And so this collateral damage, each time there's collateral damage, militancy increases in that area. So this is counterproductive.
We'll come back to our conversation with Pakistani opposition figure and cricketing legend Imran Khan in a moment. The song Moments, Rabi Abu Khalil, here on Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. As we continue my conversation with the Pakistani opposition candidate, or rather figure, Imran Khan, a cricketing legend in Pakistan, I asked him his thoughts on President Obama and whether he thought the U.S. strategy has changed at all.
It hasn't changed, and this is what we were all praying for, that there would be a different strategy. Unfortunately, also, Pakistan did not have a government capable of being proactive and approaching the Obama administration to tell them that this is madness what we are doing. Not only is the U.S. losing the war in Afghanistan, Pakistan, as I said, is committing suicide. I mean, we are descending into chaos. And there is no end in sight. I mean, no one can tell us what will happen for this war to be won. No one has this answer. So what I was hoping was, and I tried to explain to, Senator John Kerry, who I met, and Congressman Gary Ackerman of New York, just trying to explain to them that, look, you've got to have other opinions, because the government at the moment, as long as it's getting dollars from the U.S., is quite happy to take orders and whatever the U.S. wants it to do. But is this in the interest of anyone, that Pakistan descends into sort of slow chaos, economic collapse, and U.S. stuck in a quagmire in Afghanistan? Is there any likelihood of success? Is the surge going to do anything?
What do you think needs to be done, Imran Khan?
Well, I think immediately what needs to be done is a completely different strategy, which is they've got to start talking to these various groups of Taliban. They've got to try and win them over. They must stop these military activities, give a breathing space, and then use this money, this aid that is coming. It can only be effectively, it can have a positive impact if it can be spent in those areas where the hostilities are going on. But if these are war zones, how is this money going to be spent? I don't understand when they talk about winning the hearts and minds of the people by spending this money on the people of the area. But how are they going to spend it? No one can go in the tribal areas, which is where the whole conflict is. I mean, I, who have a political party connections there, I would not be going into the tribal area. It's so difficult right now.
Are you speaking to the Taliban groups?
No, I mean, on what basis would I speak? Because I'm in the opposition. The government has to speak to them, really. The combatants have to sit together. And this is going to be, I never think that it's an easy solution, but it is the way forward. This current strategy is a case of, when you're in a hole, stop digging. There is no chance of success what is happening right now.
And what do you say to those, especially in the United States and the media and the lawmakers who say we don't want nukes, nuclear weapons to get in the hands of the Taliban because, of course, Pakistan and India have nuclear weapons now?
There is absolutely no chance of these nuclear weapons to fall into Taliban hands. I mean, these are, as I said, 30 groups. Every group is different. The maximum, the group in Swat were 5,000 Taliban. Pakistan has a standing army of 700,000 troops. How are they going to take over Pakistan nukes? This is not the problem people in Pakistan think. Our main problem is that if this war goes on, or if this sort of terrorist activities keep going on, Pakistan does a military operation, suicide attacks in our cities. Given the economic situation, we will eventually have an economic collapse.
The situation of Sharia law being imposed in Swat, what does this mean for the women of Pakistan?
Well, it has to be. The Taliban on the tribal belt are not asking for Sharia. It's only Taliban in Swat. Now, there is a history behind it. In 1974, it became part of Pakistan in the sense that Pakistani laws were applied in Swat. Before that, Swat was run by the semi-tribal, semi-Shariat system, which actually was in all over India before the British came. The system was based on Shariat. So in Swat, the system was their old system, half tribal, half Shariat. In 1974, when Pakistan laws came into, which were basically British, were imposed on the people of Swat, the whole system collapsed. They did not have the infrastructure, they didn't have lawyers, they didn't have judges. So the people, 3 years later, in 77, there was an uprising. People wanting their own system back, calling it the system of Shariat. So this, when you hear about Shariat, it is their demanding their old system back, which protected the poorer people sections of the society. That's why the poor sections joined this movement, which eventually called themselves Taliban. So the moment the Pakistani system came, you needed lawyers, you needed money. Poor people suddenly had no access to justice. So there was a movement in 1977. The Pakistan government conceded, but it was a system didn't work. In the 90s, again, the people rose up demanding the Shariat. 94, Benazir Bhutto's government signed a deal with the people of Swat, with the Sufi Muhammad, who was representing this movement. And so they signed this deal. It again didn't work. In 98, then Sharif government signed a deal. And recently what you saw was a continuation of the same deal recently signed, what